President Moon Jaein kicks off his more than week-long trip to 3 Central Asian nations. He starts his marathon journey in the energy-rich nation of Turkmenistan. The US point man on North Korea is due in Russia to discuss the denuclearization of the North as speculation rises that the leaders of Russia and North Korea will hold their first summit next week. Plus, as hundreds of millions of dollars in donations flood in, investigators in Paris begin to probe into what sparked the Notre Dame Cathedral fire. So let's start with President Moon Jae-in's first trip to Central Asia as South Korean leader. Looking to build upon his new northern policy, President Moon is in Turkmenistan, the first leg of his 3-nation, 8-day tour. Our Shin Se-min, who is travelling with the president, files this report.
President Moon Jae-in's first of 3 days in the city of white marble Ashgabat will see the South Korean leader push to improve bilateral diplomacy through various meetings, as well as the inking of a number of business deals. After arriving late Tuesday for a state visit to the country, President Moon will hold a summit Wednesday with President Gurbanguly Berdimuhamedov. The two will discuss ways to ramp up bilateral energy cooperation as Turkmenistan sits atop the world's 4th largest natural gas reserves. As his first visit to Central Asia since taking office in 2017, the presidential office says President Moon's trip is a chance to open cooperation in various areas, not just in energy, but in transportation, logistics, and infrastructure, as well as the ICT sector, and allowing Korean firms to enter the resource-rich nation. During his stay, the president will tour a $3 billion petrochemical plant site in Gyeonggi that was built by the global consortium led by Korea's Hyundai Engineering, the largest business project ever carried out by a Korean firm. Geopolitically speaking, the country is situated in a strategic point between India and Europe, linking the two regions together.
Multiple layers of construction on the infrastructure front are ongoing, including railways and roads. Combine that with our administration's new northern policy, and our firm's chances of expanding overseas grows exponentially.
The president's push to expand Korea's diplomatic partnerships to the north of the country will begin with one of the region's powerhouses, Turkmenistan, where he will focus on adding another layer of economic ties and lower the bar for Korean firms to enter the market. Shin Se-min, Arirang News, Ashgabat.
The U.S. Special Representative for North Korea is due in Russia soon to discuss the denuclearization of the North. According to the U.S. State Department, Stephen Biegun will be in Moscow from Wednesday to Thursday for talks with Russian officials to discuss efforts to advance the final, fully verified denuclearization of North Korea. The trip comes amid speculation. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and Russian President Vladimir Putin will hold their first summit next week. The Kremlin says preparations are ongoing, but no final decision on the time nor the location have been set. The UN Security Council has given the green light to bring equipment into North Korea for the two Koreas to excavate ancient relics at a site in Kaesong. The South Korean Foreign Affairs source said the Council approved the temporary sanctions waiver on Tuesday, while not disclosing the specific list of what will be brought into the north. The two Koreas' efforts to discover the layout of the ancient Goryeo Dynasty Palace of Manwoldae started back in 2007, but the project has been on and off, depending on the inter-Korean relationship. The latest round of excavations was held in late last year. President Moon Jae-in is urging the National Assembly to press ahead with 2 new justice nominees for the Constitutional Court after lawmakers failed to adopt reports on their confirmation hearings by Monday's deadline. According to the top office, he asked the reports for Lee Mi-sun and Moon Hyung-bae to be approved by Thursday. Opposition parties have protested their appointments. The president can still approve them even if the reports are not approved, and is likely to do so by Friday as their predecessors' terms end on Thursday. Now, one of South Korea's biggest conglomerates, Kumho Asiana, is going through a cash crunch and has decided to sell off its flagship unit, Asiana Airlines. Several names have come up as potential bidders. Kim Da-mi tells us what these companies might bring to the table.
Several South Korean conglomerates have been mentioned as potential buyers of Asiana Airlines, mainly based on their financial stability and the ability to afford the airline's $880 million price tag. Among those mentioned is SK Group, the nation's third largest conglomerate. The telecommunications and chips giant has denied all rumors of being interested in taking over Asiana Airlines, and SK chairman Choi Tae-won gave no comment when asked by reporters. However, market analysts note the group's sizable capital resources, including SK Hynix, and a fundamental growth strategy as the main reasons for the group's possible interest. The acquisition would also make SK the second largest conglomerate by assets, which is another tempting reason for SK Group. Hanwha is another potential bidder, considering the group owns an aircraft engine manufacturing unit. Aekyung, the owner of South Korea's Jeju Air, may also be interested, as Asiana Airlines may be a good addition to further expand into the aviation sector. For Shinsegae, purchasing the airline may help the conglomerate grow its duty-free business. While other conglomerates, including CJ Group, are denying any interest, experts say the denials could just be a business strategy to prevent the sale price from soaring.
Interested corporations have already calculated if taking over the company is beneficial to them. They are remaining silent so that they can work on getting a deal in their favor.
The chairman of the State Development Bank, Lee Dong-wol, suggests that Asiana Airlines affiliates, including Busan Air, will be included in the sale, and that Kumho Asiana's main creditors will come up with a detailed financing plan before April 25th. As any plans to take over the heavily indebted airline are still in their infancy, it will take at least 6 months before we know which group will be Asiana Airlines' new owner. Kim Da-mi, Arirang News.
Now, although it's only mid-April, it already feels like early summer in some parts of South Korea, especially in the east, where the mercury has been easily surpassing 20 degrees Celsius most days, sometimes even 25 degrees. Kim Hyo-sun reports.
Things are heating up early in parts of South Korea. Despite the light breeze, people are already donning in short-sleeve shirts at Gyeongpo Beach in Gangneung, Gangwon-do Province on the nation's east coast.
I was a bit worried as it was cold when I left Seoul, but it's so warm here in Gangneung and it's perfect to be outside.
It felt more like early June than mid-April in many parts of the country on Tuesday, with daily highs in Gyeongju, Gyeongsangbuk-do Province hiking to 27 degrees Celsius. Gangneung and Busan topped out at 26 degrees. Other regions, including Seoul and Gwangju, also enjoyed a beautiful spring day, with the mercury reaching 22.6 and 23.9 degrees, respectively. This was due to a warm front brought in by the breezy southwesterly wind, which raised temperatures for the country's eastern region. However, the wind has also resulted in very dry air, with a dry air warning issued yet again in Gangwon-do Province. Other parts, including Seoul, are also expected to experience dry air throughout Wednesday, increasing the risk of fire.
Due to the dry westerly wind, the central regions and Gyeongsangbuk-do and Gangwon-do provinces should watch out for possible fires, as the air will remain dry throughout Wednesday.
As dry air warnings are expected to be expanded to other regions, many provinces are also advised to keep a close eye on possible fire risks. Kim Hyo-sun, Arirang News.
Now let's get the latest on the devastating fire that struck at Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris. The blaze has been completely extinguished now. It did rage for around 9 hours. For more on this and other news from around the world, let's turn to our Hong Yu. We hear, fortunately, that many of the priceless artifacts and artworks were saved, but what everyone wants to know is what might have caused this inferno.
Well, Mark, French prosecutors have said the fire that tore through the world-famous Notre Dame Cathedral was probably an accident, as they have found no evidence of arson so far. The investigators are working on the assumption the inferno was accidental. About 50 police are working on the probe, and they have been questioning 15 workers involved in renovations to the cathedral's roof where the fire broke out. Paris prosecutor Remy Ates told reporters on Tuesday that the investigation will be long and complex, as they will not be able to enter the cathedral until experts have checked its stone walls and the building is structurally safe for inspection. Experts say the damage from the heat that reached more than 800 Celsius and the vast quantities of water that firefighters poured into the cathedral needs to be assessed. France's Junior Interior Minister Laurent Nunez said that although the building structure remains generally intact, firefighters have detected some weak points, including the ceilings and a section of the French Gothic monument's north transept. After police and the fire services spent 48 hours assessing the security and safety of the cathedral, experts will enter it to retrieve some of the many treasures that live inside it. A surprise ending to the bitter legal feud between Apple and Qualcomm. The two companies have agreed to settle all ongoing lawsuits against each other, and they also reached a global patent licensing agreement, Yisingjae reports.
Apple and Qualcomm have agreed to settle all of their ongoing lawsuits, bringing a surprise end to the massive legal dispute that's seen the two tech giants sue one another across the globe. As part of the settlement, Apple will pay Qualcomm an undisclosed amount, while the two have also reached a 6-year global patent licensing agreement, which may be extended for another 2 years. In addition, Qualcomm will supply parts to Apple for the next several years. Prior to the settlement, the two tech companies had been fighting each other in the courts for the past 2 years over Qualcomm's patent licensing practices. Apple accused Qualcomm of charging unreasonably high fees for essential patents and using its position as the dominant supplier of smartphone modems to demand such fees. The lawsuit began in January 2017, but the two companies entered court just this week. In an even more surprising development, news of the settlement came while the two sides were still reading their opening arguments. The settlement is bad news for Intel, as recent speculation suggested Apple was planning to use its 5G chips for its 2020 iPhones. Insiders say news of Intel production delays could have been a factor in Apple's decision to come to bury the hatchet with Qualcomm. Iseung-jae, Arirang News.
Hollywood star Angelina Jolie has officially dropped Brad Pitt's last name, putting an end to their 2-year marriage life. According to Entertainment Tonight, an entertainment media outlet, the court ruled last week that they are legally single. It added they also worked out an agreement over the custody of their 6 children late last year. The two got married in 2014, and Jolie filed for divorce in September 2016. Thousands of runners have been showered with bright colors as part of the international marathon Color Run, which was held for the first time in Egypt. The world's famous festive marathon dazzled runners with a 5-kilometer run and after-party drenched in million wild color combinations. The colorful running event took place at the outskirts of Giza Governorate, and people of all ages joined the race. While running, people were showered by different color paints as they went through 4 different color zones. Participants enjoyed their opportunity to get silly, mucky, and dirty.
Time now for our Life and Info segment, where we focus on information useful for your everyday life, whether you're in Korea or somewhere else in the world. Today we're going to discuss some traditional Korean products that are going viral online, but not here in Korea, but in other countries. We have our business correspondent Kim Haesong in the studio. So Haesong, traditional Korean products are proving smash hits in other countries.
Right.
Which ones in particular?
Yeah, Mark, I'm sure you've heard of Korean products like beauty products that's going viral online and offline abroad. But it's not just beauty products. There are traditional products like gardening tools that are making huge hits on Amazon and topping the top 10 best-selling list on Amazon. So Homi is one of them, and Yeongju Daejanggan Homi is handmade by 66-year-old blacksmith Song No-gi. He has been working in his workshop for more than 4 decades. His workshop is located in Yeongju, Gyeongsangbuk-do Province, 2 hours drive south from Seoul. There are mainly 3 types of homies: small, medium, large, with different lengths and weights. The best-selling one is 230 grams. Each one takes about 30 minutes to make, processed multiple times in the forge to shape the iron and make it durable.
그래도 호미를 만드는데 좀 저처럼 재질이 좀 중요하고 또 이렇게 선 나이라든가 각도가 좀 중요하죠.
아, 요런
예. 각도가 중요해. 이제 이렇게 보면은 뭐 비슷한 것 같아도 그 사람들 만드는 라인에 선이 있어. 그래 그 각도가 좀 중요해요.
He shipped over 2,000 homies abroad to countries like the US and Australia last year, and around 1,000 were sold abroad in the first quarter this year.
Good material, delicately handmade and sturdy. This is what differentiates our homies from mass-produced gardening tools. They didn't become popular overnight, though. After putting homies on Amazon around 10 years ago, I only sold a handful. Then in 2018, it suddenly became popular thanks to word of mouth and good reviews.
If you type in homies on Amazon, Yeongju Daejanggan homies come up first. Ratings are at 4.6 out of 5. Among the reviews are, "This is the best gardening tool I've ever met, handmade the old way school," and one saying, "Our gardener admired it recently, so I purchased one for her." There are even YouTube videos showing how to use the products, one called Homi, the new gardening tool, praising how easy it is to use and how it doesn't put any strain on your wrist. And just to add, the local government of Gyeongsangbuk-do Province designated Song No-gi as a top master craftsman last year. You may wonder why it's so popular abroad, because like in the countries in the US or Canada, land is huge. Like farming machines rather than small plowers are more developed, whereas in Korea, land is a lot smaller, so more delicate tools, handmade tools have become popular where you can take out weeds because just a few weeds could ruin the ground. So Mark, I have one with me right now. It's from Mr. Seok. So if you look at it here, the thickness is all different in 3 parts. So this is the thinnest part. It's used to dig out weeds like this. And then here on the middle, it's really sharp, if you can see it. So this is used to dig out weeds and also to dig out soil, whereas on the right is the thickest part. So this part, it's used to just plant seeds afterwards. So basically, just like Mr. Seok said, all the angles are different, and it's like a multi-purpose tool, and it's 230 grams, so it's really light to use.
And he invented that himself?
Yeah, he invented this himself. And homies are like a traditional tool in Korea that's been used in the last 100 years.
And what does homie mean in English? Do we know?
Homie, so
or
basically...
he just made the name up?
No, he didn't make the name up because there are many craftsmen across Korea, and it's used by the previous generations in Korea.
Okay, well, that's interesting. I'm not much of a gardener myself, I have to say. We live in Seoul. After all, not many of us can afford to have a nice garden to plant stuff, unfortunately. But I can see why they're popular. Just tell us how much we would have to pay if we want to buy one.
If you want to buy one, in Korea, it costs about $4 US, whereas on Amazon, it costs about $17, so that's a lot higher. But according to Mr. Seok, it's not because they're overcharging it, but because of all the transportation costs like shipping, and excluding that, the price is roughly the same at $4. And also I have to point out, because homie is all handmade, he can only make 60 homies a day, and they're actually out of stock right now. given his age, 66, he says his aspiration is to have an apprentice who can learn the skills from him and pass down this craftsman and homies to the next generations.
Well, hopefully he finds someone so that craft work doesn't die off and he continues to do well. So he actually went to the effort of going to Amazon and listing his own product on Amazon himself.
Oh, actually, like his friend recommended him, like, why don't we ship it abroad, you know, because there's a bigger, huge market. So he
actually boxes it up himself and posts it, does he?
No, he has a friend who does it for him. So they ship out about 100 a day, but now it's out of stock because he can only make 60 a day and there are too many orders right now.
Okay, wonderful. Well, if you want to check that out, just search for Homi, H-O-M-I, on Amazon. And like you say, it's sold out at the moment, but as soon as any stock comes available, you might be able to get one. You can always sign up and get a reminder once things come back in stock, of course. But let's talk about some other traditional products from Korea, of which there are very many, but which ones are popular in other countries as well?
So some other products include 돌솥. I'm sure you've tried bibimbap before, right? So 돌솥 is used for bibimbap to cook. So it's Korean mixed rice with meat and vegetables, and they're going viral online. Known as sizzling hot pot for bibimbap and soup, 6,000 돌sots were sold last year on Amazon. You can find reviews like, I love it, I cook noodles in it and eat it, and it's easy to clean and doesn't scratch. An innovative pot that keeps food heated. It's become popular thanks to growing interest in Korean food and YouTube recipe videos showing how to use 돌sots to make soup or bibimbap and also on how to clean them afterwards. And another product is Korean milk velvet blanket. It's $80 on Amazon and reviewers say it's hip. They love the design and its softness. I didn't know, but apparently these blankets used to be popular in Korea in my grandma's generation. It's hard to find places that sell them in Korea right now, but they have somehow become super popular abroad through word of mouth, while in Korea, more customers prefer simple design ones. And the one we're seeing right now is the final item, Korean exfoliating towels called daesugon in Korean, used to scrub body, mostly at saunas. Abroad, it's often dubbed Italy town or green scratchy rayon mitts, which helps remove dead skin and speed up the skin renewal process. Among the reviews are, it leaves you feeling baby smooth. I scrub it until I see dead skin coming off like eraser shavings. Right, well, don't press down too hard. You don't want to mess your skin up, but you do feel nice and fresh after using one of those, particularly if you go to one of the jjimjilbangs here. Have you tried it?
Of course.
Oh, really?
You have someone scrub your back for you, it feels really nice and you feel fresh afterwards and your skin feels clean. But as always, Kaesong, it was a pleasure and thank you for introducing those products for us. I'm sure sales are going to go through the roof because of our conversation.
Well, that's my pleasure. I'm just glad that these traditional products are going viral and expanding their market through YouTube videos and online shopping malls. So I think that's good to spread Korean traditional things.
Yeah, wonderful. Okay, thank you very much, Kaesong. And now let's turn to the weather.
Good morning. Fine spring weather is in the forecast once again. Many areas saw the warmest temperatures of the season yesterday, and the warming trend continues. And of course, it's a lot warmer in the eastern parts of the country. Temperatures will hover way above the seasonal norms, and dry westerly winds are the reason for that. And we'll notice a slight drop in temperatures tomorrow, but it can't expect dry conditions to remain for the time being. While Jeju and the southern coastal regions saw on and off sprinkles, the rest of the country is dealing with a dry spell with dry weather alerts being in place, and parts of Gangwon-do province are under dry weather warning, and more strong gusts are in the forecast for eastern areas, so be extra careful with anything that could start a fire. Less sunshine is in store, but it's going to be another day with clean air, so you can dress light in the afternoon. And Seoul will get up to 22 degrees Celsius this afternoon. Gyeongju will be as warm as yesterday, topping out at 26 degrees. That's Korea for you, and here's the international weather for viewers around the world.
Well, that's all we have for now on this Wednesday morning here in Seoul. Do stay tuned to us here on Arirang TV. And a reminder that we have our next newscast. That's coming up at noon Korea time with our very own Lee Ji-yoon. So until then, goodbye. Daily news you need to know.
Breathing life into stories. Be implemented as a medical.